The Elf King trope. The tale of an arrogant monster with the appearance of a beautiful and sublime human being, always looking to kidnap and take advantage of any elf or human woman, or really any other species, that vaguely has something like a female among its ranks. Which raises one very simple question. Why? Why are elf kings always like this? Why do they kidnap women and lock them into cages, or sire thousands of kids only to send them to their almost sure death, in the hopes that one day one of these failures turns out to be an actually strong being, as strong as his father? And just like the elves of Tolkien are used as more or less the base template for any other fantasy story, that is then tweaked and twisted here and there to suit the individual fantasy setting, the Elf King being criminally interested in women has also a mythological origin. And there are actually two figures that have likely inspired the modern Elf King myth. The first is the original German Elf King with the name of Alberich. Alb literally translates to elf, and in the Nibelungen-song, Alberich is a short, imp, dwarf or goblin-like creature and guards a treasure, but he is ultimately overcome by the human hero of the story, Siegfried. And the second, and likely far more influential origin of the despicable Elf King meme and trope is the conflict in one of Shakespeare's poems, A Midsummer Night's Dream, to be a bit more precise, which takes place between the Elf King Oberon and his estranged elf queen and wife Titania. Both are in basically a custody dispute, and Oberon is so frustrated that he slips Titania a love potion while she sleeps, in order to take the queen's kid. So you see one of the most common themes of any vile and despicable elf king in Shakespeare's poem already present, and of a certain dwarf that wants to take the queen's kid, but that's a tale for another time. And since we also have the inspiration for a human hero to overcome this obstacle, we basically have the inspiration for the Elf King trope, which is then mixed with the classical "oh no, the princess is in danger or has been kidnapped" plot, in order to arrive at the current trope of the Elf King taking the main character's love interest or companions or anything else vaguely female for nocturnal activities. And the dispute about a kid in the Midsummer Night's Dream is, for example, also taken into account when Overlord's own Elf King, Dackham Hugin, wanted to ultimately take back the kid he forcefully made with the strongest godkin of the theocracy of Slain, Zashi. And there's also a third story of origin that might potentially also had an influence on the Elf King trope, the French Chanson de Geste, where Oberyn, king of the elves, was cursed by an evil witch to be very short. But since the witch kinda felt sorry for the elf, she also made him handsome. Though since short kings are basically just dwarves, and since dwarves also play a role in almost any fantasy world and setting where elves appear, this shortness aspect was likely never adapted. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the curse manifests in different ways, for example shortcomings in the personality, or, for example, what is supposed to be his mightiest of branches of the nether regions is cursed to be nothing more than a short, feeble, and very tiny little twig, or something like this. I don't know if this was ever woven into any fantasy character, but it also would make a great subtext for a more megalomaniacal and just tyrannical elf king that desperately tries to prove his own greatness in other ways, in order to compensate for his shortcoming. And finally, elves with their long lifespan, unearthly beauty, and great skill, as well as their innate magical aptitude, are also a great template for a great ego, and a high display of arrogance, which means that once the Elf King is crushed, it feels all the more satisfying. And that's basically it. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions about the vile Elf King trope down in the comment section. And, as always, have a nice day.